Hi, guys. I am here with Michael Knowles. He needs no introduction, the not New York Times bestselling author, Michael Knowles. As always, we have a great topics to talk about today. But first, I want to remind anyone, if you want to see this interview early or you want to get exclusive early access to interviews like this, you can join us on the Liz Wheeler Show community on Locals. It is very intuitively lizwheelershow.com/locals, and you will get exclusive early access to interviews. Michael, good to see you.
Good to see you, as always.
All right, Michael. So the political winds have caused you to drop a documentary that you've been working on for a long time, drop it early, almost a month in advance. Of course, we're talking about Roe. The documentary title is Choosing Death, The Legacy of Roe. You're looking at this, though, from a little bit of a different angle than, well, of course, than CNN or all of the Women's March folks that are out in the streets right now. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, the documentary Choosing Death on this legacy of Roe, it focuses on the really basic issues of abortion. In a lot of political debates, we debate first principles, we debate philosophy, we debate, and sure, a lot of that is there. But when it comes to the issue of abortion, so much of the abortion regime is just based on lies. It's based on lies about biology. It's based on lies about the law. It's based on lies about statistics, women dying in back alley abortions, all that sort of thing. And we know that they're lies. And in fact, some cases, the people who made up the lies admit that they made up the lies. And so this documentary goes right in depth into the stories of people who have fought abortion, people who have participated in abortions, and even people who have survived abortions, and just destroys those lies so that at the very least, we are all working with the same information. I think that the reason that pro-life has become so popular, such a winning issue in recent years, the reason that we're on the cusp potentially of this Roe overruling, is because people can now see what the reality of abortion is. The lies and the euphemisms and the slogans of the left have really fallen apart. I think of myself, when I was a teenager, I would have called myself pro-choice, and I recited all the same stupid arguments that pro-abortion supporters use all the time. And I had a conversation once with a bioethicist, a female bioethicist, who knocked down all of my stupid arguments and corrected all of my stupid facts, which turned out to be falsehoods. And almost in that very moment, I thought, oh, okay, I got it wrong. Now I see the truth, and I recognize that life is worth defending. And I think that could be true of a lot of people. So people who might be on the fence here, they have my sympathy. Watch the documentary, see the facts for yourself, then form your opinion.
Right. My question would be, if you don't watch it, what are you afraid of hearing? Are you afraid that your mind might be changed? But you mentioned that we're on the cusp of Roe v. Wade being overturned. So my question is this. Why did we not see the ruling handed down from the Supreme Court today? A lot of political rumors said that they were going to issue this today, and they did not.
I never thought that the court was going to hand this down today. Chief Justice Roberts has made it a point of pride not to let anything interfere with the procedures of the court. He has made protecting the integrity of the court his central mission as Chief Justice. And I think he's failed at that quite a lot. I think that actually in trying to avoid politics, he has further politicized the proceedings of the court, especially you saw that on the Obamacare case, but in a number of other cases as well. Nevertheless, that's what he says explicitly that he is out to do. And so I think that the Chief Justice feared that if he released this decision earlier than it was scheduled to be released, it would look as though the court were merely reacting to the clerk or whoever leaked this opinion. The other potential explanation, because of course we're just all guessing, we're trying to read the tea leaves, the reasoning has not leaked yet, but the other potential reason for this could be that they don't have a final opinion. Don't forget, the opinion that leaked just a few weeks ago, that was an opinion from February, and it was an opinion that was being circulated in the case. So there may not have been a final vote on this issue yet. The majority of the court, if they will continue to stick by their position and overrule Roe, they might not know the exact wording of that. There might be lots of edits going on. So we may well have to wait another month or more, as the Chief Justice initially had promised.
Do you have any speculation on who the leaker is?
I do, actually. I'm trying not to speculate out loud. One of the top suspects, according to news reports, is actually someone who was in college with me, who was a year ahead of me in college, and who was quite left-wing at the time and very focused on these issues. But out of a nice classmate sort of respect, and also because this is a really serious violation that this leaker has engaged in. And so I don't want to be throwing baseless or even somewhat well-based speculation out there needlessly. But I think at the very least we can say the argument that the left tried to push initially, that perhaps it was a conservative clerk who leaked this. Perhaps, I think that is absolutely preposterous at this point. It was clearly someone on the left. I don't think it was a justice, which means that it was one of the clerks. Every judge gets 4 clerks. We're talking about 12 people in America that this could be. I'm sure that they will identify who the person is. Whether or not we will get to hear who that person is, I'm less confident.
Well, that's my question. Do you think that the court itself already knows who this is? And do you think that we, the American people, will be told?
I do think the court probably knows. The court, like all political institutions, like every institution in Washington, is just a rumor, gossip mill. And especially that is true of the court because it's so much smaller. You're not talking about hundreds of congressmen. You're not talking about 100 senators. You're not talking about the complete circus of the executive branch, which is, let's not forget, not just the president, but it's the entire federal bureaucracy. We're talking about 9 judges and their 4 clerks, an institution that is so devoted to its intimacy and its privacy that when the court is in deliberation, when the judges are in deliberation, they will not allow staff members in to bring them a cup of coffee. The junior judge actually has to walk out and go get the coffee herself. And so you're in a situation there where I am quite confident that the judges know, but because the court is so famously or infamously private and secretive, will they release that to the American people? 50-50.
Do you think that it should be released? Are we owed this information?
Absolutely. And the person who did it should be disbarred, assuming that this person has already become a proper lawyer. They should be disbarred. They should never be permitted to practice the law again. The person almost certainly will not suffer as a monetary matter. They'll actually probably make money on the whole thing. They'll be hailed as a hero on the left, probably given some big slush fund left-wing nonprofit to funnel money through and to run the Democrat machine. So it will be, in a certain way, a kind of victory for the leaker, albeit an ignominious victory, because this person will still be without honor. They might have a lot of money. They might have even a lot of influence in the Democrat Party. But at the very least, they should be robbed of the honor. To be admitted to the bar is a public trust. To practice the law should require some integrity. I know lawyers don't have the best reputation, but hypocrisy is the tribute vice pays to virtue. And so at the very least, I should hope this person would be disbarred. But my expectations are so low politically these days, I'm not even sure that will happen.
Well, don't forget about the book deal or the CNN contributorship that's inevitable if this leaker is on the left, which we think that he or she is. All right, so if Roe v. Wade is overturned, though, there is talk amongst the left that conservatives want to enact a national abortion ban. Should we?
100%, absolutely. There are 2 conservative positions on Roe versus Wade. And the repeal of it and abortion at the level of the courts. One is the originalist view that we've heard for the past 30 years or so, which is that the Constitution simply does not deal with abortion. The issue should be sent to the legislature at the federal level, or it should be sent back to the states. They can make their own decisions. It's just not there in the Constitution. There is another conservative argument, which was argued by Robbie George and John Finnis, 2 very important conservative legal scholars, actually in a brief for the Dobbs case. They make the argument that the 14th Amendment bans abortion. And I think they make a very convincing argument. They cite Blackstone's commentaries, right? They cite one of the most important treatises on the common law legal tradition, published before the American Revolution. We get a lot of our law from this tradition. And in that, Blackstone says that for the purposes of the law, for all intents and purposes, a baby in his mother's womb is born for the purposes of the law. We know that the people who ratified the 14th Amendment had this understanding in their mind. The 14th Amendment is based in large part on the Civil Rights Act of 1866. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 is referring explicitly to Blackstone's commentaries and the concepts that he's expressing there. So I think it's a good argument, and I know that politically and practically right now, you could not get that decision from the court, so I'll take whatever win I could get for the purposes of life. But I'm not opposed to the court deciding this position in favor of life. And I like cocaine Mitch McConnell, who just the other day said that the Republicans in the Senate might be willing to take up this legislation. I am totally fine with a national abortion law. some issues, Scalia made this point too, some issues are so fundamental to who we are as a people, to what we believe, how we see ourselves, that they really have to be resolved at the national level. This was one of the arguments for redefining marriage in Obergefell. And Scalia actually made this point as well, even though he dissented in Obergefell. He said that the issue of marriage is an issue that we have to resolve as a nation. Someone is not going to be married in Massachusetts, but not married in Tennessee. You have to come up with an answer. This was one of the causes of the Civil War. You cannot have a nation in which someone is a free human being in one state, but a subhuman being that is not entitled to any rights in another state. You have to resolve these things. And if we're not going to resolve that question on the issue of life, it's hard to see how we ever move beyond the issue.
You mentioned McConnell a moment ago. If Roe v. Wade is in fact overturned, do Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell deserve the credit?
Cocaine Mitch, the man who talks like a turtle, he always gets the ire of the conservatives, and Donald Trump, a thrice-married playboy who called himself very pro-choice 20 years ago, these two men, truly, if Roe is overruled, are some of the most important men in the history of the abortion debate on the side of life, and they deserve not all of the credit for it, but a huge amount. Had Cocaine Mitch not held up Antonin Scalia's seat after Justice Scalia died, had he not held that up, you would not see this ruling. Had Donald Trump not won the 2016 election, there's not a chance that you would see this ruling. So both of them are really important here. And on the point of Cocaine Mitch, I think it's good to remember that one of the knocks on establishment Republicans is that they raised a lot of money on the pro-life issue, but they didn't really want to fix it because they were raising too much money. So you get rid of Roe v. Wade, now they don't have any way to raise money off of all of us gullible pro-lifers. But that's not true. Because as we talk about in the movie, Choosing Death, the pro-life battle is only beginning now. Once you overrule Roe, then you've got to go in and get rid of these abortion laws and ban this barbaric practice of infanticide throughout the country. So I think Cocaine Mitch, I hope that he knows that it's the right thing. I hope he's doing it for all the right, sincere reasons. But even just as a matter of pure bare-knuckle politics, this is a winning issue for Republicans. Republicans are going to raise a lot of money on it, and the base is going to love it, and I think the majority of Americans are going to love it too.
Yeah, it is interesting to see two men who are not ideologically conservative playing such an outsized role in this. If it does happen, I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched. Right. Let me switch topics on you for just a second, because what's in the news right now is the shooting that happened in Buffalo. It was an 18-year-old white young man who murdered 10 people at this grocery store, specifically because it was a predominantly black supermarket. He was a racist. He was an anti-Semite. He left behind, I should say, a 180-page manifesto detailing not only his plan and his weapons, but his ideological beliefs. Should we, and I'm talking about we, not you and I, not conservatives, I'm talking about we, the general public, should we read this manifesto? A lot of people are telling us we should not.
I don't have a view, an eternal principled view of all times of whether or not we should read the manifestos of killers. I think in this case, it is worth reading what he said. And the reason it is worth reading is because you are not going to get an honest look at this shooting or any other shooting from the establishment media. And I think it's important to. If you want to solve a problem, you need to figure out why the problem is happening in the first place. You need to get relevant information about that. And if you have an establishment media that is lying to the public, then the public has to go get the information for ourselves. There are three things that happen in all of these shootings, and they happen in this order. One, the media will try to determine whether or not a mass killing satisfies their predetermined narrative. So in Waukesha, you had a black racist kill a bunch of white people and injure dozens more white people. That didn't hit the narrative, and so that was a news story for a couple of days, and then it disappeared. Joe Biden said he wouldn't go to visit the victims' families because it would require too many assets when a president goes to a political community. Okay. Same thing with the New York subway shooting. There was a major shooting on a New York subway just recently by a black racist. That story disappeared from the news. A lot of listeners will probably have forgotten that it even happened. This story is a white racist who is targeting people specifically because they're black. He was very forthright about his racial motivations. So that hits the narrative. That's the first thing that happens. Second thing that happens is the politicians jump on it. Joe Biden already announced within 24 24 hours, I think, that he was going to go to Buffalo and try to score political points. Okay. The third thing that happens is that everybody, not just the left, but everybody, tries to find bits and pieces of the killer's writings and postings to blame the shooting and the killing on the other political party. And that is happening right now as well. The media have gone in, they've read this killer's manifesto, and they're taking a line here and a line there and trying to blame it on Tucker Carlson, trying to blame it on any conservative, really, trying to blame it on Republicans. And so it's important for conservatives to, and the public at large to go in and read this manifesto, because it actually doesn't fit neatly on the left or the right. In the manifesto, the guy rejects Christianity. Okay, well, that doesn't seem very conservative. He says explicitly that he's not a conservative. He says that he is a fascist. He says when he was a young teenager, he identified as a communist. Okay, score one for the right wing. But then he said he moved further to the right. Ah, darn, score one for the left wing. Then he said he took the political compass test and his views are in the authoritarian left. Okay, score one for the right wing again. And you'll see this petty, stupid game playing out ad nauseum, especially in the media. And I think it's important to read the ravings of this man to show that not everything breaks down along a left-right paradigm. The left and the right, it comes from the French Revolution. The people who sat on the left were the revolutionaries and the advocates of atheism and revolution. The people who sat on the right defended monarchy and Christianity. That doesn't apply to every political situation. People always will try to say Hitler was a far-right extremist. Then the conservatives will say, no, Hitler was actually a leftist. He wasn't on the right. And the real answer is that the left and the right is insufficient here. Hitler had Nazis in general, and this guy identifies as a neo-Nazi. The Nazis and Hitler had some aspects that were on the right, some aspects that were on the left. A kind of a traditionalism, also a kind of an atheism and a modernism and scientific racism and all the rest of it. And so when one reads it, I think that one can focus more on the tragedy itself. One can get past all of the cheap political points that the media has only begun to start spouting. I mean, just wait until Joe Biden makes it to Buffalo.
And then final question here, and this is a little bit more tongue-in-cheek than the other ones. Who do you believe, Johnny Depp or Amber Heard?
Oh, that's not even close. Amber Heard is a complete sociopath. I had never really even heard of her, pun actually unintended. I didn't know who she was. I was not surprised that Johnny Depp, a very famous movie star, married some hot young actress or whatever. But I didn't have a ton of respect for Johnny Depp either. The man looks like a saint in this trial. The clips that I have seen of this poor woman, you imagine you're going to come home and find her boiling your pet rabbit or something. Get her out of here. Poor Johnny, run for the hills. I hope there's a Johnny Depp-shaped hole in the courtroom wall.
And what's funny is Taylor Lorenz of the Washington Post actually tweeted this morning that it is not abuse for Amber to hit Johnny because she's not in the position of power. So her abuse wasn't actually abuse. Only Johnny could abuse because he was in a position of power. The left is totally nuts on this. Michael, quickly tell us where we can go to watch your new documentary, Choosing Death, The Legacy of Roe.
So you can find the documentary over at the Daily Wire. It is only for Daily Wire members. Are you not a Daily Wire member? Well, what's wrong with you? Come on, it's not that expensive, and we got a lot of content coming out. So make sure you go over, subscribe. This documentary, I can say it because I'm not the one who filmed it. I wrote a lot of it, I appear in the documentary, but I wasn't the one who was filming these interviews. And when I watched the footage for the first time, I teared up at least 3 times. It is really affecting stuff. And I thought I'd seen everything in the pro-life movement. This is really affecting stuff. And you know that this is going to be the issue that everyone is going to be talking about for the next 6 months. So make sure that you are arming yourself with the facts. And the movie is Choosing Death, The Legacy of Roe.
And it's over on the Daily Wire. Michael, good to talk to you. Thanks for being here.
Great to be with you as always. Thanks, Liz.
If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below, and ring the bell to make sure you never miss a video.